If you've recently been diagnosed with tennis elbow, you're probably wondering, how long is this going to take? The answer depends on several factors, but the good news is the vast majority of people recover without ever needing surgery. In this video, I'll explain what normal recovery looks like, how long it typically takes, why flare-ups are a completely normal part of the rehabilitation process, and how to tell whether you're making meaningful progress. By the end of this video, you'll have a much better understanding of what to expect during recovery, so you can stay confident and avoid becoming discouraged by the normal ups and downs of rehabilitation. One of the biggest misconceptions I see about tennis elbow is that it should improve after just a week or two of rest. Unfortunately, that's usually not how this condition works. The tendons involved in tennis elbow are used throughout the day whenever you grip, lift, twist, carry, or stabilize your wrist. Because these tendons are constantly being loaded, recovery takes time. The key is understanding that recovery is usually gradual and not overnight. Temporarily reducing activities that significantly increase your pain can be helpful early on, but it's also important to remember that tendons generally recover best when they're exposed to the right amount of progressive loading rather than complete immobilization. Throughout this program, I'll show you exactly how to safely load the tendon as it heals. So what kind of timeline should you expect? Every case is different, but many people begin noticing meaningful improvements within about 6 to 12 weeks of following a structured rehabilitation program. For more persistent cases, especially if you've had symptoms for several months before beginning treatment, recovery often takes longer. That's because tendons adapt slowly and meaningful changes occur over weeks and months and not days. The elbow is a non-weight bearing joint, so it does not get the benefit of constant loading, like say the knee or the ankle. This can often prolong healing. One of the most important things I tell my patients is that recovery is rarely a straight line. Think of it like the stock market. Even when the overall trend is moving upward, there are always days or even weeks where it dips. Rehabilitation works the exact same way. You might have a week where your elbow feels much better, followed by a flare-up after a long day at work, an afternoon of yard work, a tough workout, or a game of tennis. That doesn't necessarily mean you've re-injured the tendon or that your rehabilitation isn't working. Temporary flare-ups are a completely normal part of the rehabilitation process. If you remember only one thing from this video, remember this. Don't judge your recovery by your worst day, judge it by the overall trend over the course of several weeks. Instead of focusing on how your elbow feels today, take a step back and ask yourself, am I having more good days than bad days? Can I grip or lift objects with less pain? Can I perform more activity before my symptoms begin? Are my flare-ups becoming less frequent and easier to calm down? If the answer to these questions is yes, you're making progress, even if you still have occasional setbacks. It's also important to understand that some discomfort during rehabilitation is completely normal. Our goal isn't to eliminate every bit of pain immediately. Instead, we're gradually improving the tendon's ability to tolerate load again. Mild soreness during or after your exercises is often expected with tennis elbow. But pain that continues to worsen, lasts for an extended period, or significantly limits your ability to perform your normal activities may be a sign that you've been progressed too quickly. If that happens, temporarily reduce the amount of load you're placing on the tendon before gradually building back up again. It's also important to remember that recovery involves more than just treating the elbow itself. As we discussed in the previous video, your shoulder strength, posture, movement patterns, and even your neck can all influence how stress is distributed throughout the upper extremity. Addressing these factors often leads to better long-term results rather than focusing on the tendon alone. Finally, be patient with yourself. Tendons naturally heal more slowly than muscles because they have a limited blood supply. While that can make recovery feel frustrating at times, the vast majority of people who remain consistent with their rehabilitation make excellent progress and return to the activities they enjoy. The most important thing is to stay consistent. Small improvements repeated over weeks and months almost always lead to meaningful progress. In the next video, we'll discuss the most common mistakes people make during tennis elbow recovery and what you should avoid to keep the tendon from becoming unnecessarily irritated while continuing to make steady progress.